source for everything paranormal. ParaX.
Throughout the ages, history has been altered by word of mouth and the misrepresentation of those who might not have been present when some of the world's most significant events took place. Channelers Barry and Connie Strohm bring through the spirits of those who actually witnessed or took part in these historical events and lets them tell their stories in their own words. Welcome to Channeling History. And now, here are your hosts, Barry and Connie Strohm.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Channeling History. We're the only show where we speak to the souls that made things happen, and tonight we're going to speak with the souls that made people laugh. I'm Barry Strohm, your host. I'll be speaking the words of our spirit guest tonight.
And I'm Connie Strohm, your co-host, and I would also like to invite you to our show. Last week, we interviewed the spirits of Winston Churchill, Mikhail Gorbachev, and Mahatma Gandhi, and had them discuss current and future events. This was an outstanding show, and we highly recommend that you check it out. Their recommendations should be heard by everyone, especially them running the world. Tonight, we're going to have a little change of pace. There's so much craziness in this world that we figured you all need some medicine. And, of course, I'm sure you've heard that laughter is the best medicine. So this evening, we've got three comedians. We've got Bob Hope, Robin Williams, and George Carlin. This should be a show to remember. All of our Channeling History shows are available on our YouTube channel. It's in the name of Barry Strohm, and the channel has over 650 videos available. In addition to Channeling History, we do three other podcasts: Hello Heaven on Friday nights, a weekly message from Jesus on Wednesday mornings, and a Sunday sermon on Sunday morning. We're currently consolidating all of our radio broadcasts on a new platform called podbean.com. So just go to the site and search Barry Strohm. We will ask each of our guests the identical questions this evening. It's called Roundtable, as you know. We've got a lot of different subjects to discuss, so please feel free to submit any questions through the chat room.
Okay, we're going to give a short disclaimer, since there's going to be a wide variety of opinions again tonight. We're encouraging our guests to speak their minds, so I guarantee there's going to be some people listening that are going to be upset. So the opinions or statements voiced on our show are the channeled words of the spirits. Do not reflect our opinions, those of the ParaX Network, or of our sponsors. And before we channel, we also say a prayer of protection. So Connie's going to say the prayer, and then we're going to begin to channel with these wonderful guests tonight.
God, please grant us your wisdom and protection. Grant us the knowledge that we can handle and keep us safe from all things that will harm us. Keep the messages positive and pure love. Keep us safe from our egos. We ask these things in the light of the seen, the unseen, and the honesty of God. Amen.
Now, Bob Hope was a comedian, actor, entertainer. His career spanned nearly 80 years. He starred in 54 featured films, traveled the world, entertaining the troops, and is one of the all-time best-known entertainers. His monologues were known for roasting politicians and important individuals. So his answers, we believe, should be quite memorable this evening.
Robin Williams was an American actor and comedian known for his quick wit and improvisational skills. He was a winner of an Academy Award winner for Best Supporting Actor for the movie Good Will Hunting, and was nominated for the award in 4 other instances. As he watches from the other side, he must love the target-rich environment that we're in our current events.
George Carlin was an American stand-up comedian, author, and social critic. He's famous for his humor targeting politicians, religion, and taboo subjects, and Lord knows we got enough of those tonight. His no-holds-barred manner made him famous throughout the world. Tonight, we're going to give him another shot at what is taking place around us.
So we're going to start, we're going to state a subject and then give each of you the opportunity to give your opinion. The first subject is going to be on gender identity, and we will begin with Bob Hope. Bob, what do you think about the Olympic Last Supper scandal?
I thought we were going to speak about gender identity. So I can't pass this one up. I would think that it's not that hard to tell the difference between a man and a woman. I know that I never had any problem with it. Once your pants come off, it was always fairly obvious whether you were a man or a woman. And I must admit, I often favored the women's side of it. Today, nothing is certain. There are women that want to be men. There are men that want to be women. And there are those in between. I'm not sure that those in the know are going to come up with independent bathrooms, but we'll have to wait and see. Gender identity. I truly wish I was alive today that I could spend a couple hours on it. It's just something that I guess you can't get away from, but I'm still old-fashioned. I still believe in men and women. Okay. Mr. Carlin. I think that all this gender identity crap is exactly what I just said it was. You're either born a man or you're born a woman. I mean, you can stick your head in the sand and you can ignore the obvious, but if you got the equipment, you're a man. If the equipment's missing, you're a woman. To me, that's pretty obvious. I know that there are those out there that's having their equipment removed, and I kind of feel sorry for them. But that's all a personal choice. Today, everything is upside down. Just as Bob said, I also wish that I was around because it is a very target-rich environment. There are many people that pay no attention to common sense. And I think those that are speaking about gender identity are among that group. Robin Williams. I'm not sure what they're really talking about. I always knew that I could look down and see what I was. And I always knew that my wife could do the same thing. If you're born a man, you may not like it, but there's a reason why you've done that. If you're born a woman, you might not like it, but there's also a reason why you've been born a woman. Yes, there are surgeons out there that can help you make some kind of a transition, but I truly think that the world would be much better if everyone just stayed what they were. Men and women are very difficult. They get along, they get married. But what happens if you have a man that changes to a woman and a woman changes to a man and then they decide to get married? Can you imagine what their children must look like? I personally have no idea. So anyway, it's a very difficult world, and there are many people that just simply seem to make it much more difficult.
Okay, now we'll get to the Olympic Last Supper scandal.
Bob Hope. I'm not sure what that was. It was so effing pathetic that I really couldn't identify it. What were all those people doing? Would you please explain to me why you would have a country like France, with its deep religious background, with thousands of years of a Catholic faith, denigrate one of the great Christian teachings and activities? The Last Supper means an awful lot to an awful lot of people. I really can't be too funny about this because I felt that there was absolutely nothing funny about what was taking place. Robin. Did anybody take the time to really look at the characters that were doing this? I thought they were straight out of Mork and Mindy, or maybe out of Star Wars. Humor is a wonderful thing. I made my living at humor. But when you take humor and you use it to hurt others, to hurt especially all Christians, it's no longer humor. It's just very pathetic. And on many levels, I believe that it kind of reflects human nature at this time. Things have changed so much in the short time since I've passed. I don't know why anybody that would plan an event the size of the Olympics would go out of their way to alienate millions and millions of people. I find it very difficult to find anything humorous in that. George. I watched it from over here, and I was in pretty good company watching it. Over here, there's nobody thought that was very funny. Many of us over here learned a lot when we crossed over. And one thing that we learned is it's not the wisest thing in the world to make fun of God or Jesus, because you see, all of those fools that you saw sitting behind that table are heading for the place where God presides. Now, I can just wait to see what it looks like when they get over here, especially the fat chick in the middle that played Jesus. How would you like to have to answer those questions? I think not. It was an act of sheer stupidity. If people don't stop being so cruel to so many, then this world truly has no help. I tried to at least make people laugh as I was insulting them. In this case, I don't think there was anything we could laugh about.
How about the Olympic boxing scandal?
Bob. Once again, we're back to what we talked about at first in gender identity. There are individuals that are men, and they are basically stronger than women. And there are women, and they are basically stronger than men. Why do people want to ruin women's sports by allowing men to participate in them? Just because a man wants to be a woman does not change his body or his muscular structure. I think that women's sports are truly in danger, and there's nothing very humorous I can say about that. So I'll let George speak. The fact that a man is legally allowed to beat up on a woman is a subject that even I would have trouble making up any humor about. Men should not compete against women. When you compete against a woman, it's not a matter of being fair. It's a matter of taking ultimate advantage. Women should be allowed to compete with women, and men should compete with men. There is no in between. I know they say that the individual in question in this boxing tournament just was a woman with high testosterone. I never heard any comments about what the hardware was between her legs. And Perhaps that's true. But there still has to be a great equality in sport competition. That's why you have weight classes in boxing. That's why you have men's boxing. It's why you have women's boxing. Sadly, there is no great equality in this new world. Robin. Men and women are shaped differently. If you want to dispute that fact, then the next time you're in bed with your wife, check things out and let me know how it goes after you tell them there's no difference. The idea of sex is, I believe, very basic to the way things work. Men and women are created differently. I know that there are probably those out there that are disagreeing because of the great equality thing that people think is so important right now. But I think the whole thing is terrible, to be honest with you. And there's very little humor that I can find about allowing a man to beat up on a woman.
How about political correctness or woke?
Woke is... Oh, this is Mr. Hope. I always thought I was pretty damn woke. I woke up in the morning. I stayed awoke during the day. And then I stopped being woke at night when I went to bed. But I believed that certain things were the way they were. I believed that men were men, and I believed that women were women. I believed that right was right and wrong was wrong. And I believed that there were many people in the world that were insane. And I think that everything that I believed has pretty much come true. Woke has destroyed many things. I'm not really sure what it is, but whatever it is, it's destroying many of our institutions. The schools, you have bathrooms where men and women can go in together. You have locker rooms where schools are forcing people to shower. I don't find woke as something that will lead us to a new enlightenment. I think it is basically leading everyone to a new stupidity. We have enough stupid things in the world. The old-fashioned way of doing things is often not the worst way of doing things. Men and women, husband and wives, children, growing up happy. I'm not sure how woke handles all of those terrible situations, but I will guarantee you if I was still alive, I would have a lot to say about it. Mr. Carlin. Woke is a joke. Woke is a nasty joke. Woke is trying to lead people down a road they do not want to be led down. Many people just simply want their ordinary ways of lives. Many people want to make their own choices as to words they can use. Many people want to be able to refer to individuals the way they would like to refer to them. Many people just simply want to be left alone to their own devices and to their own concept of happiness. How can a child want to change its sex and the school does not allows the student to meet with doctors and make arrangements to do so without the parents knowing. Yet a parent is responsible for that child until he is 18 years old. There are many things where we need to get back to the old way of doing. Robin. I'm trying to think of something clever to say here about woke. If I was still alive, I would have much to say about it. And given time and some thought, I would come up with some pretty funny things to say about it. When you're on this side, much of what the people want you to believe is not what God wants you to believe. I never realized so many problems existed until I got back over here. A man and their relationship with a woman is the key to the future. Women today are on basically the same footing as men. You see areas where they are excelling. They have always been as bright or even brighter than men. I know when I was in math class, the girls were always smarter than I was. Many women today are every bit as capable, every bit as intelligent, and have the same abilities or even more abilities than men. There are many people that think that by changing the way you look at things, that things become different. That is not the case. Use common sense in how you refer to people. There are still fathers and there are still mothers. I understand there are states where that's even being taken off the birth certificates now. Insanity in any form is still insanity. Connie?
Okay, we're getting some questions from the chat room. The first one is, I wonder what our guests think about the reference France showed in the opening suggesting a menage a trois. There were young children watching that.
Bob. I think that the one good thing about that is most of the kids around the world didn't understand what they were talking about since it was in French. For all of those that did understand it, it was a crime. Why France would do some of the things that they've done when they had the world spotlight is beyond me. There were many times that I had the spotlight of the world on me, and I tried not to insult people. I made fun of them, but I tried not to do anything that would bring disgrace upon a country or upon an event such as the Olympics. France failed miserably. That's the only way you can describe it. Robin. Menage a trois. Let me think about that. No, let me stop thinking about that. France should have thought about that before they said it. That it is an insanity to bring that type of subject up when you have a situation such as the Olympics that is trying to bring about cooperation between countries, peace, and understanding. The French sometimes have the ability to be a little bit overwrought. And I would suggest that whoever thought up this brilliance of bringing up such a subject in prime time, where all the children of the world could hear, is certainly out of touch. George. If I was to bring it up in my act, I would have been in a room full of adults. And first of all, I would have made sure that they were capable of understanding what I was talking about. I would have probably found out that maybe half understood and got the joke. When you do it in front of the world and the children of the world, it's not a joke. It's not even funny. It's a pathetic attempt at I don't even know what. They made a huge mistake. And I think the world is correct in criticizing France as much as possible for what they did.
Okay, George, one of our listeners has a question just for you. He says, are you allowed to say the 7 dirty words now that you're in heaven?
You can say anything you want when you're in heaven. You have free choice. But you see, we don't actually say it. It's mental telepathy. Just the same as when you looked at a beautiful woman and you would have a thought. If she was reading your mind, they would come over and smack you. Up here, when you think dirty thoughts, an angel comes over and smacks you as well.
Okay. How would the woke movement affect your type of humor today?
Bob. Today you have to be afraid of what you say because you have all these lunatics online that would jump on and be offended. I would not be able to resist making humor about some of the idiotic things that these idiots that are so woke are coming up with. I would have been attacked, and perhaps I would have been told that my humor was no longer suitable. But I guarantee you, when you're talking to 3,000 Marines, they don't worry too much about what you say. I think that woke is absolutely destroying modern comedy. The comedians today have to be politically correct. And it's very difficult to be funny and politically correct. Robin. I'm afraid that today people would find something wrong with Mork and Mindy. No one ever said that I was a boy, but Mork was assumed to be one. I would often come up with things to say on the spur of the moment, and people would generally think they were funny. Today you would have a group of people sitting out there with their pencils waiting to hear what I would say so they could jump on with all their people in the basements with their computers, and they could go on to X or Twitter or Facebook and make comments about how terrible I was because I called a man a woman. Think about that, George. I'd like to go on record as saying that the woke movement would not have had one damn bit of effect on my humor. I would have said, what the hell, I'm going to say this. If you don't like it, guess what you can do? And that's what I would have done. I agree that the woke movement is killing comedy. Many comedians today are afraid to make jokes about certain subjects. There aren't many people making jokes today about the politicians, and believe me, there are so many jokes that you could tell about them. Do you see many of them making jokes about Camilla right now? She's a fertile field for humor. There aren't many making comedy about Donald Trump. He's also a fertile field. I wish that we could get back to the old days of humor, the days when you could do things and not be abused for it. Al Jolson, he was incredibly famous wearing blackface. You wear blackface today and you'll be thrown off the air. You'll be shot. You'll be crucified. So many things have changed in the world of humor. And I feel that woke has had a terrible effect on making people laugh.
I agree with you. How about anti-Semitism? What do you all think about that?
Bob. Anti-Semitism is terrible. Hatred in any form is terrible. When you get over here, you'll realize just how bad it is to show hatred. I wish that people would understand the great equality of the soul. They will not understand it till they get here. But when they get here, anti-Semites will definitely learn the consequences of hatred. Carlin. Jews have been hated for thousands of years. They have excelled in being merchants. They excelled in education. They excelled in many things in the world. And they excelled in being successful. I think that success is what has created the thousands and thousands of years of hatred towards Jews. Jews are no different than anyone else. Every soul is equal. Blacks have been hated, and many still do hate people with different colored skins. They have truly not understood the great equality. Many hate immigrants. Many hate individuals with different languages. Hatred is something that needs to be overcome. Humor can truly overcome hatred. I would make humorous comments about individuals, but I would never make comments that showed true hatred. I always tried to be funny when I criticized. Today there are individuals that just simply hate. Robin. Hatred is one of the oldest categories of human emotion. Often there is no basis for it. Often it is because someone tells you to hate. Hatred is one of the most dangerous of the emotions because it leads to violence. It leads to great anger. It leads to wars. It leads to the death of millions of people. The ones that should be hated are the haters. If you hate the haters, then maybe you will have a chance to stop the hatred.
So, guys, what do you all think about Donald Trump?
Bob. I was honored to know many of the presidents throughout my career. Donald Trump is indeed a very unique individual. There are many things that you can do to make fun of Donald Trump. You cannot make fun of the fact that someone just tried to kill him. That type of hatred can destroy nations. There are many things about Donald. His haircut, it looks like, well, I'm not even going to comment. Some of the things he's done in the past. But Donald Trump, I believe, does truly love America. He does many things. He would be much more effective with duct tape across his mouth But Donald Trump can truly be joked about. But there are many things, such as his love of country, that should stand the test of time. George. I almost made a career of criticizing the presidents. When he was first running, the jokes were very, very humorous. When he was elected, the Democrats didn't think the jokes were quite as funny. Now today that he's running again, he's a subject of great hatred in many respects. He still hasn't learned that sometimes there are things you shouldn't say. But he is trying to do, I believe, his best. I know that if I had $1 billion, I would not be bothering to run for president. I'd be sitting on a beach and looking at the beautiful women. Robin. Donald Trump can be one of the funniest or one of the most pathetic individuals. Every time that you think that he is doing something really good, he opens his mouth and you find that he screws it up. Many of his ideas, I think, are very good, especially in the area of religion and rights and cutting taxes and places like that. But sadly, what he does often overshadows some of his best ideas. Time will tell what is going to happen in November. But we are all watching over here very anxiously to see how things turn out.
So what are your thoughts on Kamala Harris?
Bob. Kamala is a very, very interesting individual. Her largest, shall we say, benefactor was the mayor of San Francisco, and he certainly did give her, shall we say, a boost. But she has managed to obtain the second highest position in our country. Some of the things that she's tried to accomplish have had fairly humorous results. Her being named the immigration czar was one of the greatest political jokes of all time. She must still prove herself. She needs to state clearly what she stands for. And she needs to tell the American people why she deserves and is capable of handling the presidency. George. I would always like to have had somebody that laughs like Kamala in my audience. Her laugh would have been a great experience. She has done many things that perhaps do not reflect well upon her. She needs to speak to the American people and explain many of her policies and what she has done. She needs to explain how her past policies relate to her modern policies. But she is a very interesting woman, to say the least. Robin. There are many ways to obtain political power in this country. And I believe that she was quite woke in what she did. and how she obtained her positions. We are going to find out just how effective wokeness is in the political arena in the very near future. I would suggest that all politicians remember that their words have been recorded on video in the past, and that perhaps they should take time to listen to what they said in the past. She should do her best to honor the past and history of our country in her policies, and she should stand by the president that named her vice president and not help to increase his political dishonor.
What do you think about the medical condition of Joe Biden?
Bob, the medical condition of Joe Biden has sadly become apparent. It is very difficult to make a joke about anything this serious because all the leaders of the world are apparently aware of what is taking place in our White House currently. The fact that his condition has been kept hidden from the people is no laughing matter. I feel very sorry for him. No one should be going through the physical condition that everybody believes that he's going through. But everyone must recognize their own limitations. He should have accepted his limitations and not have decided that he was going to run for re-election. That was an injustice for the country, and I'm very sad to say it. Carlin. There is nothing funny about Parkinson's, and it is a disease that takes place over a long period of time. There are many that have helped cover that disease, and that is a very sad thing for our country. We watched from over here what was taking place, and we realized that there would be a day of reckoning. The long-term implications for what has taken place and is currently still taking place in the White House, long-term implications can be very disastrous, and we will all have to wait to see. But there is no humor, and those of us over here wish him well. Robin. It is very interesting when you're over here to watch disasters in the making. We cannot do anything because it's free will. Humans have the right to make the decisions that they wish to make, and they will bear the consequences of their decisions. It is very sad to see that sometimes a wife, for her own personal gain, will prod her husband into doing things they should never do. But it is yet to be determined the true consequences of what has taken place.
Yeah. We have another question from one of our listeners. This is for all of you. Who makes you laugh in heaven, living or dead?
Bob, I love getting together with all of the comedians over here in heaven. I'm a good friend of Robin on this side. He has an incredible wit, and he still has it over here. George is a little different, but he is very hysterical. Jack Benny is a wonderful friend. There are many of the original comedians, such as Charlie Chaplin. All of these individuals make us laugh over here. Today, as we watch, we are not seeing much humor. Wokeness has affected many of the comedians. So there's really very little that we laugh at that is taking place on your side at this time. Robin. Thank you, Bob. I truly appreciate the kind comment. Humor is so important in life and in death. Many of you don't see much humor in death, but there's actually quite a bit to it. The greatest joke that you will ever see is those that didn't believe in an afterlife. It's really funny to see what happens when they die. They come to this rapid conclusion that maybe they shouldn't have thought there was nothing. To us, it's very funny to watch them. You'll see them react. Many of them are in darkness for a while, and we can sit over here and actually watch how they react. We might be seeing a real bad person, and we know they're getting ready to go, and we'll kind of line up like we're in the bleachers and say, man, this is going to be funny because this jerk is about to find out just how dumb he was in life. So there's really not too much to laugh about on planet Earth right now. When you get over here, you'll find a lot to laugh about. We're all very happy to be here. And you'll find that this is a very enjoyable place. George. I laugh a lot because your politicians are such assholes. That's the only way I can describe it. They have to work at being the people that they are. They go out of their way to infuriate people. They go out of their way to lie. They go out of their way to cheat. Another group of people I like to laugh at are the very rich. They're over there thinking that they can do what they want to do, break any of the laws, how special they are because maybe they were an actor or an actress. They take all that money and they put it into their accounts and they keep counting it and they watch it grow and they don't do anything to help anyone else. And then, bam, they die. And they go, uh-oh. Yes, folks, they should have truly done something to help others with that money. You see, we can watch all of this taking place from over here. There's really great humor in some of this. You ought to see a person's face that was worth $1 billion when they're told in their next life they have to go live in Calcutta and they have to live on the street. That expression's pretty damn funny under any circumstances. So you see, there's heaven, and there's laughter and humor on both sides.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Vladimir Putin?
Bob. If Putin wouldn't be such a jerk and such a dictator, he'd be absolutely humorous. Here you have this short guy who's going bold, trying to convince the world that he's 8 foot tall and the smartest individual that ever lived. So there's a lot of humor around Vladimir Putin. Sadly, he's having he will have millions of people die in his wars, in the way he leads his country, and he will destroy the country, and there's nothing funny about that. Carlin. I love the way the little fart waddles when he walks up and looks so important. He's actually a very sad individual. But he's going to ruin millions of lives and a country, and multiple countries. And if the idiot doesn't realize that he's going to get his own head blown off, he's going to attack the wrong country. There's really things that you could say that are funny about him, but the result that he's having on the world is disastrous. Robin. I like the way that George described his walk. Looks a little bit like a duck sometimes. And I really like that one where he's riding horseback without his shirt. He really ought to consider wearing a shirt. He's not a funny man. He's one of the most evil people in the world today. He tries to put on a show. He tries to do many things. But he is absolutely one of the most evil people to walk the earth.
Okay, what about the Republican Party?
Bob. Have you watched all the infighting in the Republican Party? Donald has pretty much taken control of the party now. So what he says goes. But it is very sad when one individual exerts all of his thoughts and concepts on a political party and they adhere to it. There are many things that are good about the Republican Party, but there are many things that are not so good. Sadly, there's not much difference between the Democrat and Republican Party as we watch from over here. There are jackasses on both sides, and there are those that have no regard for the people or why they were elected on both parties. Robin. It's very easy to make jokes about the Republican Party, just as it is very easy to make jokes about the Democratic Party. Now, I will admit right now it is probably more easy to joke about the Democrats than the Republicans, but they brought that on themselves. The Democrats have got to learn that a cover-up is often worse than the crime. When they kept the president's condition from the people for 3 to 4 years, that was a historic cover-up. The Republicans, there's a lot of humor in their party as well. The concept that everyone must toe the line, must do what, must adapt what Trump wants them to adapt, the ideas. That is a very sad situation as well. I wish there was a time would come again where the individual parties truly could cooperate and work together for the good of the people. All right, we're running out of time again here as I watch the clock. Let's let each of you have a closing message for us, and let's start with Bob Hope. Thank you so much for allowing us to come through again. I truly enjoyed making people laugh. I enjoyed the fact that men were men and women were women, and I especially enjoyed the fact that women were women. I hope that the world comes back to the point that they can once again laugh, that they can enjoy the humor. I hope that we come to the point that comedians can make the jokes that they want to without being attacked on social media. And I truly hope we reach the point where humans respect each other and show love. So I know Robin has something he would like to say. So here's Robin. Humans are still pretty good creatures. I loved them when I was there. Sadly, there were many things about them that depressed me. I tried to make jokes about them. I tried to do things that would make them laugh. Sometimes I would have to cry at what humans were doing to each other. It was very depressing, and there were times I couldn't get over that depression, and it haunted me throughout my life. I pray that there will be a time the humans show love and coexistence to one another. That is the only true way to happiness. It's very hard to laugh when you can't pay your bills, or when you're about to lose your home, or you don't have food for your family. Laughter is something that is very, very important to humans, and I hope that there will be a time that there's a lot to laugh about. Sadly, that time is not now. George. If I was alive today, you can bet your ass that I would be making a lot of jokes about the politicians. I would be speaking about both parties. Believe me, I would not be showing any partiality, because at this time, both parties are doing something that you should cry about, not laugh about. If something does not change, we are going to get a rude awakening from the other countries in the world. There are many that hate the democracies. China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. There are many countries that would just as soon see the democracies of the world destroyed, and that's no laughing matter. You have to take seriously what is taking place around you politically. You have to understand the hatred that is out there. So I hope you can find time to laugh. I love all of you. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Connie?
I'd like to thank all three of our wonderful guests tonight. Humor makes what is taking place in our world a little more tolerable. We tried to not show any partiality in choosing our subjects tonight, and we certainly had a lot of subjects to choose from.
Now, Connie and I started a new podcast. It's called Hello Heaven. We bring it to you on Friday evenings at 6 o'clock Pacific time on YouTube Live, and then we post it everywhere. We try to teach you about the afterlife. That's what we do. We hope that you take time to listen. We like to interview listeners. If any of you would like to appear on the show, please send an email to onestrom@gmail.com and let me know what you would like to speak about. My 10th book, Modern Messages of the Archangels, is available. It's a great book. We interviewed 20 different archangels. Their messages are wonderful. If you pay attention to them, they can change your lives. So I would hope that you would tell your friends about it. Signed copies are only available on my website, barrystrohm.com, but the book is available in soft cover, hardcover, on Amazon.com.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight on Channeling History. This week we brought you three of the greatest comedians that ever lived. With all the problems we're facing today, we thought you just might enjoy an opportunity to laugh. We always try to bring you the truth about history by speaking to the souls that lived the events. So please tell your friends about our show. I think you'll be doing them a favor. God bless you all. Have a wonderful week.
Yeah, and I would especially like to thank all the three spirits who were with us. Sadly, they've come to the conclusion while watching from the other side that there's not a whole lot to laugh about right now, and I'm afraid I have to agree with them on that. Hopefully things will change. Hopefully our politicians will change and pay attention to what we would like to have them do. Hopefully they'll show love. They'll learn to cooperate. They'll know that serving the people is a great thing. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed our show tonight. Good night, and thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening to Channeling History. Tune in again next week for another electrifying episode, as we never know who will make an appearance or who will come through the portal. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2020. Our Story Begins by Kevin MacLeod, licensed through Incompetech.com.